from the Pathway Studios in Johnston proper. You are live from the Path.
And you are listening to Live from the Path on livefromthepath.org. Thanks for joining the show. Here's the deal.
You're welcome.
I'm pretty excited for a couple of reasons, and
Boof is taking a drink still.
I'm gonna tell you why.
That was a good shot.
I'm gonna tell you why. So basically, I'm gonna run the show tonight. This is gonna be the Mike Foose special. And I'm not really sure how it's going to go, but I'm excited for it either way.
I'm excited for you.
Yeah, and here's what we're going to do. It's been a hectic week with the boys individually at the Live from the Path studios, and so I have a feeling we're just going to give out a slew of advice today. We're going to call it the Dear Live from the Path special. And I expect to hear input. I do have a little bit of Pope-style advice that I think we're going to run through real quick because God's been kind of smacking me over the head with a couple things this week. But
I like it when God smacks you in the head.
Yeah, I know.
I like to hear about it.
It's invigorating at the least.
Yes.
And so we're going to talk a little bit about sharing the gospel with people.
Yeah.
It's a big deal, and most of us are terrible at it.
Yeah.
And that's okay, and I'm going to tell you why. So we're going to go through that, and like I said, we're going to have a lot of Dear Live from the Past, and we're going to hear from the rest of the gang, including Pastor Dan Hudson, John Boover III. Tessa's going to do some talking, and Ben Eleanor Foose is also going to have some things to say.
You bet your bippy I am.
I don't know. You guys been catching the news much this week?
Actually, no. I haven't watched barely any news, to be honest with you.
I haven't much.
Just trouble in Egypt, Dan. That's what I know
Well,
about
I know
life.
that. Yeah,
trouble in Egypt.
There's been trouble there for like a few centuries.
Did you notice, though? Actually, so this was a very... I assume they put this in there for this very reason, right? So this isn't unique. But they were talking about the Christian churches that were being targeted in Egypt and how they were marked with red, like ahead of time. Like they marked which ones, like which people to target with red. And, it brought to mind, like the lamb's blood above the door, Old Testament style, where like... They were
Which
marked
happened in Egypt.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So
Right.
they were marked for God's salvation, and they're being marked in worldly destruction, which is frankly the same. And anyway, I just thought it was interesting.
Wait. Did I just hear you right? God's salvation and worldly destruction are basically the same.
It's the same thing. If you die to the world and you live for the cross, it's basically the same.
I mean,
thing.
you do get to go on to salvation quicker.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
true. I'm just saying, like that, the mark that saves you, right? That God identifies this as mine is also one that brings you worldly trouble often.
Oh, gotcha. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm a little foggy. I went to the fair this week.
because you're wearing those pajama
It's
pants,
the allergy
Dan.
things, and yeah. What? Everybody's looking at me.
I feel like it's the pajama pants.
They're red plaid.
It's throwing off a lot of
Is
folks.
that an unmanly thing?
Generally, I wear
Pajama
these in the
pants?
winter, but they were the only thing I could find, and I just put them on.
Here's the thing:
That's
is
fair. I'm wearing gym shorts that I haven't worn since high school, so
Yeah,
I
we're
sleep,
kind of in the same boat.
I sleep well in pajama pants.
I do.
I'm not ashamed to
don't.
admit it. Like I feel
No.
warm and comfy, and I sleep well in them.
I'm warm and comfy on my own. Like I'm a human space heater / pillow. I don't need pajama pants to help me.
Yeah. Actually,
That,
just kind of like when I said I do, I really don't. I wear them all night long, and then I take them off and go. And I won't go any further. But
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you why that
First
makes
pants
me.
off story from Dan Hudson on Live from the Path today.
It makes me uncomfortable that you feel like you, as an entity, are in generally comfortable, which means you need no articles of clothing to feel all right. And that level of comfort,
I wasn't gonna. I wasn't gonna comment.
it gives me the willies.
I never said I feel comfortable with myself to walk through Walmart just down to my skivvies.
I
Like,
sleep
that's
in the
not
wild blue
situation.
yonder.
Exactly. I sleep in a bathtub. That's it.
You're listening to Live from the Path on livefromthepath.org. Listen, there's a ton of music coming around town here. We've had a slew of just excellent musical guests lately. Like I've been blown away by talent. So we've been running the show almost 3 years now, and I thought we'd seen everybody. Like the Lord produces no more people, and
That's it.
I've met them all. I thought
we tapped it out.
that was
Exactly.
it. And we keep running into folks that love Jesus and play good tunes, and we run into people that love Jesus and don't play good tunes on occasion.
They still love Jesus, and that's what matters.
So Here's my bit of. This is going to lead to my Pope style advice. So I've been going round and round with this fellow at work about. He used to be a Jesus man, and he used to attend to church services, and then his church did a split. And I talked to him again this week, and just about reattending the Lord's service, and he just cannot seem to get past this worship thing. And the primary question is why this bothers him so much, But then I started to think about this, like how many people actually go through this, because he really enjoys the teaching. He finds the guy to be very dynamic and an excellent speaker, and he's fired up for Jesus when he walks out. But then they close the service with the worship man, and he's like, this guy couldn't sing, he couldn't carry a tune in a bucket, and it's a bigger church. And I thought, I always just assumed the more money you kind of brought in, the more you could be a little more choosy on who your full-time worship man is. And if he can't sing at all, what is going on in the Christian church that you can't tap a man on the shoulder and say, if you're going to make a joyful noise to the Lord, you're going to have to do it without a microphone because you're just awful. Yeah. I mean, you're a hindrance to me with your cat-like screeches.
Yeah, the musicians tend to be artistic type people, and they tend to be a little more sensitive. And that's probably why oftentimes you will find you will hear that in a lot of settings in churches where they're just a little bit afraid to wound the sensitive person. I think that's probably what's going on there.
Artistic types are difficult sometimes.
What's that?
Artistic types in general are just kind of difficult when it comes to that type of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm mean because I think if you can't sing, you should probably know you can't sing.
Like I know, but often people who want to sing the most can't, and they keep singing.
I would never want to get up on stage and sing because I know that I sound like a dying walrus, and I've come to terms with that. So I wouldn't be the guy that comes up to a church and said, "Hey, man, you guys need a new worship pastor. I'm it." And I'll sing a few bars and sound like a dying animal, and then get up there and just really rock it out.
Yeah, but see, you think logically, and no, I'm serious, and artists usually don't.
What,
Are you saying I'm not an artiste?
Well, so this was the conversation that I had because actually there's a couple more people who were in the room at the time, and they're like, our worship leader's kind of the same way. Like people just don't really like his singing, and I thought, I'm 50-50 on this thing because is it shallow to be like, hey, he's not to my liking, But then on the other hand, what if he really sucks?
Yeah, they can't. And I'm not defending that, by the way. I might have sounded like it. I'm just telling you, I've seen it multiple times.
Well, that's the thing. Is like because I came down kind of hard on this man, and I felt a little bit bad later. I'm like, this is a silly reason to not be attending the Lord's service. But then on the other hand, I've attended a church service where I'm like, you guys are just being too polite. The truth of the matter is that boy can't sing at all. And he's I'm sure he loves Jesus, but so does Moses. And he said, I stutter. Don't put me in front of people. Maybe a little humbling would be necessary.
Aaron, where you at?
No. Here's the thing. You're not being too light on him. You should be more harsh on him. Here's the thing. If you go to the place and like they have no discernment at all, and the band is just terrible, and they have no concept of excellence. Like if you're going to go out there and do something for God, you really should do it with your bells on, And so
that's even scriptural.
Yeah.
Let the singer sing, and let the instrument players instrument.
Yeah. Well, I get it as it's a barrier to going to that church, but not going to a church.
Yeah.
Not everybody stinks.
Wait, are you saying there could be another church out there?
I'm just throwing it out there as like, if there's a God of the universe, right? If God created the world and he exists and he wants to be in a relationship with you, that guy stinks at the guitar is not a legitimate barrier to the creator of the world. It just isn't.
Yeah.
And so like if you don't like the church, I get it. I've been to churches I didn't care for, but that doesn't make me say, well, you know what? I'm just going to drop church altogether. That's like
God.
That's like dating a woman and saying, "Boy, I just don't like the way that she does her hair. I'm swearing off women completely." Yeah. Like that's what he's doing, and it's completely inappropriate.
Yeah. I want to believe in God, but I don't believe in a God that's willing to let that guy sing. Sorry, that's ridiculous.
That's kind of the truth of the matter too, though. Like I wouldn't put up with that crap from like say the cafe or the greeting ministry. If we got a guy who's the head greeter and people show up and it's like, "What are you doing here? You look like a terrible sinner. I don't know that you can come in."
There's a church down the road for you.
Yeah, I feel like maybe we should talk to that guy and say, you know what? I feel like you're in the wrong ministry.
Let's not make Ben the greeter.
Yeah. We have a cardboard box with no light in it that we think would fit your ministry better. Go ahead, step in. That's the deal. People take public ministries and that. And I know you guys sit on the other side of this, right? So it's different coming maybe from me, but like, I feel like it's your duty if you don't feel like your pastor is leading correctly or providing a teaching platform, I feel it's like your duty to say that. I mean, he's not above reproach. I mean, you can annoy the man, and maybe it's not like your particular style. Let's say you like to be yelled at, kind of like me. And if you don't sit there and yell at people all day, I'm like, well, I'm not going to come to this church because you're not yelling at me or make me feel convicted. I mean, that's lame. But I mean, honestly, if there's a good amount of teaching that needs to go down, and your lead pastor isn't doing that, your lead pastor is not Jesus. Walk up and say, hey, look, I here's what I thought. I've been praying on it. If you kind of feel the same way, I can give you some feedback. If I'm out of line, say so. Whatever. That's kind, and that's honest, and it's direct. And if he's a prideful jerk and says I don't want to hear it, then you need to really pray for the man. But seriously, like, is it really that big of a deal? You don't have to form a coup, because this is what happens in the church, right? They form a coup against worship man, and then they gossip about it in a circle. And then they're gonna be like, well, I can't believe blah 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 blah.
Or they send an anonymous note.
Yeah.
People are saying.
Others
it has been said at some point in time.
Others are very upset.
We're upset about the way that you worship. Dang it. God doesn't like to hear your voice. We want to hear someone else's.
I don't know. I find it to be distracting. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel that way about our worship guy. So I mean, I don't know how that feels for others. But like, I've attended churches before. And I'm like, man. I mean, if there's like 10 guys in the church, you don't get to be real judgmental. Like, someone's got to do this thing, But I mean, if there's a couple, 200-300 people in your church, the Lord has blessed somebody with a voice that can sing,
I
right?
would think so.
Here's the deal. People have got... Everybody has been in the car and bopped along to some song that you would never admit to someone that you bopped along to, right?
Like Moves Like Jagger.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Britney Spears comes on, you get a little Maroon 5, and you start doing this business, and somebody in the Volvo next to you catches you doing it, that kind of jazz. So, like, you've done that, and you tell me that you're so affronted by however horrendous this Lord's praise music is that you can't get down with it. I'm saying you're picking your battles, and you're choosing the one against the Lord. And
Ben's a Bieber fan. He can't whine.
I groove to whatever I want to. They did they did some kind of groove song that I feel like I should know the title of an artist, but I don't, at the fair. And they invited all the kids on stage, and I almost went up there.
Groove song.
Yeah. To the left, to the right, sees feet out, things of this nature.
Isn't that like a Beyonce
the
or
Cupid
something?
Shuffle?
Is that what it is?
To the left, to the left, to the left, to the left.
Yeah.
To the right,
Anyway.
to the
That's
right,
probably
to the
enough
right,
of that. You've been listening to Live from the Path on livefromthepath.org. I promise you, we generally have high-quality talent and guests in here. Today's not one of those days.
That's not going to happen, sorry.
Yeah,
Today's not one of those
not
days.
true.
But here's what you can look forward to for the rest of the show. I'm going to hit you with some Pope-style advice. And the premise here is that, there's 10,000 people on my lawn, and they've mistaken me for the Pope. They want advice that can help speak into their lives and help them to live a godly existence, and they think that I'm the source for this. They're terribly mistaken. They picked the ranch house on the wrong side of the street. The Pope lives down the way. But now I got to say something because they refuse to leave. They're stiff-necked people, very much like described in the Bible, and they want to hear something. And I was thinking about this today, and I think my Pope-style advice is going to center around discipling. And it was kind of my gig last week, but I was talking about my daughter came home from school today, and she said, Dad, I talked to somebody about the Bible. I'm like, well, great. What happened? She's like, well, the teacher was telling a story, and she says, and she raised her hand and said, that sounds like a parable from the Bible. And she goes, some other boy in my class had heard of the Bible. I'm like, this is excellent. Nicely done, And she said, I said, well, what did the teacher say? The teacher said, well, it's not exactly like in the Bible, but thank you for sharing, because I think she was wrong, and it was not anything like a parable. But she raised her hand and said Jesus, and I'm like, this is excellent, And I thought about it. I was thinking about it today after what I kind of described. I talked to a fella about kind of getting back to church, and after the experience was done, I thought, I shared the gospel, but I did it so terribly. I mean, so bad. Not well at all. I missed God's heart in it. I thought about the conversation. I'm like, I said the wrong thing. And so I immediately prayed. I'm like, God, I need you to redeem what I just said. I don't know. I'm not sure what came out of my mouth. I stepped forward in faith because I felt like it was my time to say something about you, and I really fouled it up. And so I need you to take whatever I said, and I need you to fix it in his head and fix it in his heart like I didn't say the things that I said. And I'm confident Jesus does that, so I'm not super worried about it. But I thought about that, and I thought, I think a lot of people expect, like they look at especially biblical characters like Peter and John the Baptizer and like these great prophets of the Bible, and they speak the word with confidence and I don't know, without much trepidation. And if you look at these guys, they practiced at it, right? You're not just going to walk up off the farm and start spouting out the gospel if that's just not what you've been talking about. If you'll notice when you accept Christ in your life, the word Jesus does not roll off the tongue. You know what I'm saying? It's awkward when you say it in public because you're looking around like, anyone hear me just say Jesus? Anybody want to complain? I'm moving on. I'm going to keep on talking, right? But like John the Baptizer spent 30 years in a forest by himself practicing this very thing. You know what I'm saying? There's not a whole lot of details on what John the Baptizer did before he started his public ministry, which lasted, 6 months. This guy was like a firecracker. He showed up. He was working on his plan. He was sitting there in the forest by himself, eating bugs and making his clothes. And he's in there like, okay, repent. And he said, no, that's not going to do. And then he waited for a squirrel to come by and he said, repent, until he got it right. He practiced it. You know, it doesn't come out right. And so I guess my Pope style advice is what it basically boils down to, because this obviously runs in the family. My daughter attempted to share Jesus where Jesus was not fitting into the conversation at all, and she attempted to point to a parable that was non-existent, but she tried. And then I tried to talk to a guy about getting back to church, and I ended up yelling at him for being a pansy and have her. And I said, those are the stupidest excuses I've ever heard. And I said, I don't know what you're thinking. I said, I feel like you're running away from God, and if that's the truth, we have another conversation to have. But picking out piddly things to find with a church service to find wrong, that doesn't sound like submission to the Lord of all. That sounds like submission to you. I said, there's not a two-man throne. These are mean things to say, to another Christian brother. It's the truth. It's not like it's not the truth, right?
I'm really like, I like the hardcore truth. I just enjoy that part of it.
But
hey, man, if you're gonna run from God, at least put on the running shorts. Like now you're just kind of, hey God, are you gonna chase me?
Well,
like here I am.
See, but I could tell that my discipleship it wasn't going over well. It wasn't being taken in.
Well, you're inviting someone to die to themselves, to give up their life and give it to Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little awkward.
Well, here's what I decided. Like, and I'm defending my rude tactics, right? But like I've shared a soft shoe gospel before. I'm like, you want a better life? Accept Jesus. You'll get better life.
Yeah. See, that's the slick little
I don't have
packaging
any
stuff.
idea what your life looks like. It may be pretty awesome right now. I don't know.
Come on over to Jesus. We're cool.
Yeah.
I think that the church, as the church in America, we've cheapened grace, we've cheapened the gospel, we've cheapened discipleship, and we have made it a glossy package. And that's probably some of the frustration that you feel, that the average believer feels, is that at one point they've heard all this glossy stuff. Hey, Jesus will make it all better, and it's like, that's a load of crap.
Yeah.
Jesus could tell it to Stephen, who died as people threw rocks at him because he believed in Jesus.
Yeah.
Tell it to James, whose head was cut off because, well, he believed in Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell it to guys in Egypt with big red marks over their doors.
Right
who just
now,
got killed this week because
they're being raped and killed and burned.
Yeah.
Guess what? You could be. We're calling you to die.
Yeah.
So are you in?
Yeah.
How's that sound? Pretty all right.
Let me talk to my manager and
all that stuff. You get marked. How's that sound?
I'll talk to my manager and see if I can get a better price for you. I mean, it's just
a discount at the Sizzler.
I'm in good with Jesus. Let me talk to him about this whole dying to yourself thing. We'll see what we can figure out.
We've made it a sales pitch, and the gospel's not a sales pitch.
It's not. But see, the thing is like, I guess
a slap down.
I guess where I felt like I led it the wrong way is like I didn't include a whole lot of grace in there. You know what I'm saying? I included, here's where your because he previously knew Jesus, right?
Yeah, the trade-off's pretty good. You get forgiveness of sins and eternal life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're
but you got to include that in your sale. You got to tell them that part.
I'm ready
too.
to offer you forgiveness of everything you've ever done.
We have one end of the spectrum where we're just kind of giving the whole, hey, Jesus is cool, come on over. And then we have Mike, who's just like, hey, man, you're a terrible person. You're a sinner. You've messed this up and this up and this up. And Jesus is sitting there, hey, remember the whole I am forgiven their sins and grace and
I'm
salvation.
like, that's not what I got out of the Bible. I feel like
Jesus is saying, you're such a load of crap, I had to die for you.
Yeah. I was living in comfort. I had to come down for you because you a fool.
So are you in or not?
Yeah. I mean, that's a long trip on your behalf, isn't it? But I guess the long and short of it is that I don't know. It came into perspective when I was talking to my daughter today because I was really proud of her. She's 5, you know. I mean, I was just proud of her that she's put her hand up and she used the word parable and Bible in her first grade class, and I'm like, and I realized after talking to her, I looked at my wife and my wife goes, well, how about that? And I said, I'm glad Jesus is raising these kids because I couldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could try my hardest to produce kids that are nice and kind and respectful. And frankly, I've tried that, and I'm not that good at it. You know what I'm saying? You know who makes major changes in hearts? It's Jesus Christ, right? And I can see it. It's funny where you see Jesus in your kids because I know that none of my parenting has produced that change. You know what I'm saying? I know the way that I parent my kids, and there's behavior I expect. And when things happen, like I pray for my kids at night that they will love their father and know their father, and everything good about what I point to always points back to their Father in heaven. And like when they grasp it, it's not anything that I've done. It's things that Jesus has done and the Bible has provided that we read every night to give them that opportunity. And like I was so joyful that God had taken an aspect of my child that I'd been praying for and just showed me a little bit of fruit. You know, I was really happy about that. But then I realized that practically, her and I both suck at sharing the gospel with people. We're just not good at it, you know. But I think that my Pope style advice is basically boils down to, you just have to do it. You're gonna stink at it for a while. I have full faith that the Holy Spirit's gonna fix it for the hearts of the guy that you're talking to. Just spit it out there. Give it a shot. Just do it, because it's never going to get any less awkward unless you keep it up. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just not. You know, you're going to be searching for verses. You're going to be fumbling. You're going to say something that's flat out not true. And you're going to go, I wish I wouldn't have said that. I should have said something different here. And frankly, like, it's not going to get any better until you start doing it. And then you start praying that God helps give you the words. And so the Pope style advice is share the gospel. Stop being so afraid of it. It's one big rock to jump over, and after that, it's just a steady walk, and I think you can get there.
Yeah,
I'm in.
Dan's in.
All in.
Okay, thanks for the commentary, fellas. I feel like
I think that's a good thing. We all agree with you.
No, I mean.
Okay. Mike, I'm very proud of you for your Pope style advice.
I don't want affirmation. I want you to say, in my life, blah, 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 because I'm a contributing member to the program. Here's how that might apply to me.
What are your thoughts, Bubba?
I mess that up all the time. I agree entirely. I have gotten a lot better in the last couple of years at my spiel with the gospel. And
I feel like I'm talking to a piece of paper. Just a blank piece of paper with no form or function.
Am I the piece of paper with no form or function?
Yeah.
I'm just making sure we're on the same page here. All right, that was lame.
Hey, don't talk to him like that. He's college ruled. Here's what I think I would say that I kind of suffer from a little bit of the same thing, but it's mostly my sharing of the gospel is a defense of the gospel, which again tends to restrict, like doesn't give you the whole story, right? Like I'm out to like help you with misconceptions of what you think about Christ or what you misunderstand about the Bible, because that's usually who I'm running into, some kind of guy who's like got this wild idea about what God is or what his life should be. But I spend a lot more time on that as opposed to, look, here's what's really on the table. Like, let's deal with reality here. Here's what God's offering. Here's your situation. You are way worse than you think. God is way more awesome than you know. And try to marry those two together by following him, and your life will be fine. But I don't think a lot of times it's more defense, like defending God as if he needs defending. He'll handle his own self. He's not like, oh no, they're saying bad things about me. I hope Ben goes in and saves the day. Like, this kind of a ridiculous position.
No, that's true.
As opposed to, like, the truth will set them free. The truth will defend itself. The Bible will defend itself. God will defend himself.
But that's what you're saying. That's part of your role is to provide the truth. So someone has to provide the truth.
Yep. The chat says it's for sure not a sales pitch, but sometimes don't you want to kind of meet them where they're at?
Well, yeah.
Paul style.
Sure.
But you can't. I suppose the discussion is not leaving them there, right? Like, you can meet anybody where they're at, but to lead them from that, you have to be doing something. You have to be speaking. You have to be demonstrating. You have to be So I would agree. Like you can't treat them as if they're in a position to understand all the things that you're saying. Speaking of Paul, right? There's a reason that Paul started off at the synagogues. Those guys knew what he was talking about. If he shows up and starts saying Christ and Messiah to a bunch of Gentiles, they don't know what he's talking about. And so like that's why you start there. So you meet them with what they understand. That's kind of a high example, but you meet them with what they understand, and then you can progress from there. I mean, think about that. The whole narrative of the Old Testament is to meet people with what they can understand, so they can understand Jesus. If you skip all that stuff, we get it in context. We're like, okay, I get it. This foreshadows Jesus, but like, if you're a Jewish guy and Jesus comes along, that's how you understand Jesus in context. That's how you actually get him. And so, that's meeting them where they're at, like understanding what they know, what they, what they're looking for, what they're feeling, and then, providing that leadership and that path from there. That's meeting them where they're at, but you certainly can't leave them there. Like, and that frankly, I think has been a big fail from a Christian church. Is like we become one of the outpourings of a seeker-sensitive movement is people. Well, I'm just seeking Jesus, so we have the cool band and we have the cool stuff that goes on. As we kind of like let them seek for 30 years, and those are sheep without shepherds, right? The shepherd doesn't let sheep just wander around, and by the time they showed up into the pen, they kind of agreed to be sheep.
Yeah, it's like the anti-American Eagle. You know what I'm saying? You walk in there, they give you about 2 steps in, they're like, what you want? What can I help you with? Where you going? And we're the exact opposite. We let you roam the store for years. We just let you keep moving up and down the aisles, and they say,
don't say anything, they might walk out.
I don't want them to leave. They might buy something, I feel like 30 years in, you ain't buying nothing, You're just perusing to gain what you can gain. You're waiting for the free sample lady to come out with beef jerky again, and that's basically your object for being here.
I mean, it's completely true that like you can't expect people that don't love Jesus to act like people that do. You know what I'm saying? And it's an unfair perspective to have that kind of like I would talk to Troy, I would talk to Buva differently about his lifestyle if he's doing something ridiculous than I would to someone who doesn't love Jesus, because Buva should know better. He knows what loving Jesus entails. Somebody else who doesn't, like, they don't know where I'm coming from. That's not meeting them where they're at from a framework. So I totally agree with that. But I think sometimes we do that, and then we don't actually lead them away from that or towards Jesus more appropriately. We just meet them where they're at and kind of buddy them, and then, well, God, I spent 20 years with the guy. What do you think of them apples? Well, you never told him about me, so he's kind of in the same spot. Sweet 20 years, buddy.
Yeah, you wasted his time and mine. I feel like, can we rebuke somebody for after that? Can I just have a job as the rebuker? I'm not good with the company.
Say, Mike, I think that's just what you want to do.
It's not what I want to do. It's just what I'm good at, Buva. I can't compassionize with people.
I've seen it firsthand. I understand.
I tried to compassion with a man, and it sounds like I'm asking him out on a date. You know what I'm saying? I have no...
So I know you're kind of lonely.
So, you're probably... I feel for... I can pray for you, and I love your family, and I feel like we could have a bond. This is the kind of joke that comes out of my mouth because I'm not good at it.
And
that's
pray
because you're creepy when it comes to the compassionate
now,
stuff.
if you could find me a Christian guy that's not towing the line, I say things like, what is the matter with you? Your family is suffering under your folly. Straighten your ways up. You're like a troll.
I believe you have the spiritual gift of exhortation.
Yeah. Is that a spiritual gift?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some people
And
get
you have
good. That's why the worship guy at that one church gets away with it. There's no Mike Foose.
Exactly.
Go over to him and call him a
Someone
blank
has to
piece of
do it.
paper.
Actually, I offered to stop in and talk to him.
I bet you
There
did.
were 2 different churches. There was 2 different people from 2 different churches that were like, yeah, our worship pastor's the same way. I'm like, what is going on? Why can't you send a guy in there and say, look, Phil, you're not great. Okay, let's back this down. You're causing problems.
I actually had that circumstance where like I was passively involved with something with a group of folks that were in there, and somebody was just, they weren't good at what they were doing, and like I was not connected with these people at all. I was just like doing them a favor, and like I had a bunch of them ask me for advice on what to do. I'm like, is it my place to go tell this person who I've barely met that like what they're doing in their life in the service of the Lord is a mistake? And I decided that it wouldn't be effective for me to do it because I'm simply not close enough to him. And frankly, if I were him, I would be pretty hurt that the people closest to me wouldn't do that. Like, wouldn't bother saying something to me about something that was important. But you've come across circumstances where you're like, no one is bothering to tell this out. That's how guys like that end up on American Idol.
No, that's true. I was only there.
On the blooper reel.
I didn't get past the first round, so I wish you guys had said something. You're listening to Live from the Path on livefromthepath.org. I feel like we're going to dole out some advice. Ben?
Here we go. People got troubles. They got woes. And they say, Live from the Path can help me. I need a solid rebuke. Dear Live from the Path, I recently declined a wedding invitation because my spouse and I will be out of town on the date of the wedding. A few days after I sent the RSVP, I got an email from the groom saying he had suspicions that I wasn't attending because I was bitter about not being in the wedding party. I was shocked by the email. Not only do I not care about who was in the wedding party, I don't think we're such close friends that we should have been invited in the first place. I think it's appalling that he would accuse someone who declined an invitation for having ulterior motives for not going. I emailed him back, explaining that we will be out of town and how upset and disappointed I am that he would think something like that. Wasn't what he did a breach of etiquette? Appalled in New York. Thoughts?
What was the first gist of it? They invited him to the wedding. The guy said we're out of town, and the buddy got mad?
Possibly not even buddy.
Yeah, because he said he thinks he has ulterior.
friend.
He's upset because he wasn't in the wedding party. That's why he thinks he's not really out of town.
John met Joe at the grocery store and then sent an invite to his wedding, and then he had to say no, got really upset, and then said that he was upset because he wouldn't get in the wedding party. All the different kind of stuff. I think the groom was a little bit out of line to even send an email in the first place. That seems
You can't
ridiculous.
invite by email. What kind of woman is this man marrying? I tried to email our invitations. My lady about had a fit. You got to send
It was a
out.
follow-up.
No,
To
the
the
email
RSVP.
was a follow-up.
Oh.
So what it was is that
I thought you had to have like a doily and a piece of paper and calligraphy.
I think that's what they got. They sent the RSVP back saying they weren't coming, and that's where the email came from.
Oh.
So the email wasn't like an evite for their wedding.
I do a Facebook event and call it a day.
Yeah, exactly.
You coming or you ain't coming.
Click this link.
I got one of those last week.
That is awesome.
Bonus. Yeah, I would say it's a breach of etiquette. First of all, like if you really thought that, if you thought that this man was close enough to you that he would be offended if he wasn't in the wedding party, maybe the phone call would have been the way to go as opposed to an email. Like this seems like a very passive way to handle a buddy that you might have offended to that extent. So you're just being lazy. Second of all, you also think very highly of yourself that people are offended to not be in your wedding party. I know how you feel, buddy.
Everybody wants to be close to me.
Maybe the groom feels like guilty for not inviting this guy to be on the wedding party, and that's why he's coming up with this.
Well, but why would it sounds like he did it in kind of a sass manner.
Yeah.
So
You just don't. You're mad because you're not a part of my wedding party. You're not actually making this sound
So
ridiculous.
now here's the deal. On the other side of this thing, this guy could have handled this gracefully. Could have said, actually, dude, it would have been an honor being your wedding party, and I'm sorry that we can't make it, but we're going to be out of town. Thanks for thinking of me.
Yeah. Wish you all the best.
He could have handled this in a graceful manner instead of because what's the ultimate? What are you telling each other by having this interchange? I feel like you feel like you're more important than you are. Well, I don't really feel that way, but you feel that way. Now I don't know what to say about it.
And I'm appalled because of it.
There's not even an end game where you're not even communicating anything. All you're doing is trying to convince someone else that they feel a way that they don't feel, but that you think they feel.
Yeah.
It's like talking to a group of women. I don't know how they got in this type of bed.
Wow.
He's kind of right about that though.
It's what it's like.
Hey, I can't say that. I'm not gonna get hit by her. So.
What both these couples need is someone with the gift of exhortation to get in the middle of them and slap them verbally.
Mike, can you
Actually,
take care of the situation?
So the last wedding that I was at, the wedding party was 5 people deep on either side. I'm like, what kind of charade are you trying to pull? You don't even know guy number 5. He's like the groom's brother. He's like the groom's sister-in-law from 2 marriages ago. Oh, it'd be really nice if she was in the wedding, otherwise she'll be offended. Who gives a crap? You know what I'm saying? You should probably have 1 or 2 people at most. Especially, maybe brothers. If you got a big family, you might have to. But I mean, seriously, you really don't even like half them brothers. Let's be honest.
You know what stinks is that if that's way off balance, the groom has 5 brothers that want to be in the wedding party, and the bride has 1 sister and 1 friend. So now you have to go scoop the loop and try to pick up 3 cranky friends to match the brother line.
Hey, you RSVP'd first. Would you like to come on in and be my bridesmaid?
Well, since you're going to be there.
Mike, I'm kind of offended because I think I was groomsman number 4 at the last wedding I was groomsman at.
Yep, you were.
You're calling him up, Bill.
filler.
Hey, man.
You're filling in the pie, Booba.
If you really didn't want me there, you could have just told me that. I didn't need to sit at the special table. You
Here's the
leave me
deal.
alone.
There's a starting 5, which is the first 2 guys, and everyone else, they're just backup players. If the other 2 get tired, or the best man's a heavy
I'm
drinker.
trying to think of where I was sitting at. I think I was number 4.
Were you in a big church?
No, it wasn't really a big church.
See, it's like a lot of times you'll see big wedding parties when you have like big churches, big pipe organ, because it looks lame if you got a giant background and only two on either
two
side.
dudes.
So you're filling like ladies are smart like that. They're like, you know what would look good? 5 groomsmen in this deal.
Yep.
Pick one up, and then you got 2 flower girls to round it out. Looks like a big, little
looks
league
huge.
photo.
The
Once
problem
again
is-
in my life, I'm a filler.
Yeah, the farther away you get from the bride and the groom, though, the more angry they get about having to purchase the tux. They're like, I don't even know this guy. $150 for a tux. One night, I mean, seriously, I'm not interested in this at all.
140. What is this? Ridiculous.
Yeah. They're like, oh, but I bought you a flask. Oh, great, a flask. That's what I want. Great. That's very useful.
Cheap gift from the sales bin at the
It's
Hobby
an
Lobby.
open bar, and you got me a flask. You know?
I got dog tags with my name on them.
Just in case you forget who you is, Troy.
T-Roy.
T-Roy number 4.
Number 4. Fill in number 1.
That'd be cool if it said 5/4. You got bumped up because the guy couldn't make it.
So are we generally agreeing breach of etiquette here?
It's just poorly done, especially
They're
by-
they're all overreacting. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, here we go. So the secular advice was, yes, it was a breach of etiquette. Your inability to attend the wedding appears to have brought to the surface the groom's insecurity about his social relationships. Just to be clear, though, he's not unable to attend the wedding. He chose not to attend the wedding. When you say, like, I'm out of town, like, it's not, unless you're going to prison out of town, you have to say, I'm going to go out of town or I'm going to go to the wedding. You're still choosing to do something
I
else.
will be in Chillicothe for the next 5 to 10 years.
So, I mean,
Depending.
Yeah. If you get married again 7 to 10 years from now, I'd be more than happy to attend.
Look me up.
I'll be getting married potentially next week. That's not right. So, in either case, though, like, just to be fair, when you say, I'm going to be unable to attend your wedding, that's a lie. I'm choosing not to attend your wedding. I'm going somewhere else. Unable to attend is just a nice way of putting
Now,
that.
I'm going to put that on my wedding RSVP. Like, unable to attend, and then in parentheses, you could attend, but you really don't
Yeah.
want to.
Yeah.
And then have people check that and send it
Yeah,
back
I
to
would
me.
say, A, I'm coming, or B, I'm choosing not to come. That's really what's going
Let's
on.
not lie to each other, people. You're choosing not to come to my wedding.
I got a dentist appointment. It's not movable, dude. Seriously, I've called
They
them.
are
and
booked for months.
they refuse to move this. It's outrageous.
Really, here's the number to the dentist. If you want to call them and talk to them about moving my appointment, you go ahead and do so.
I've done everything I could do. I sent an email.
I sent a follow-up email 3 days later.
So anyway, I don't blame you for being appalled. Appalled is a little strong here. The man's behavior was inappropriate. You know, not holding a door open for a lady at the store is inappropriate, but being appalled is a little too far. I believe that fits
You
in
know,
this category.
You've had a really great life if this is appalling.
This is the downside of the digital age, though, right? Like, you can read an email in a way that it was not intended.
That's
You know what I'm saying? Like, when the guy read the email, all he does is see his buddy on the other end going, you know, with a face and being sassy and looking at his wife and high-fiving like, we ain't going, you know. We don't care about this stupid thing, you know. He's like, well, if that's going to be the deal, I'm going to write back with some caps letters, and you're going to really get the business, you know.
Here's the deal, though. Nothing gets me more excited than a swift email exchange. I like a good heated battle over email. Multiple paragraphs. For like, I won't be. I'm pretty good with strong language, strong, firm argument in an email. That's where my strength is, and like, I really
Actually,
dig
I've
on
seen
it.
Ben doing this before. His rebuttal paragraph always starts with, I see that you're putting words in my mouth. Here's what I said. Here's how you turned it. Please don't do that. Paragraph number 2, further rebuttal.
I won't be dominated over email.
Here's
See
what,
how you can change this up a little bit.
here's what you
Paragraph
can't
2.
do. If you have a smartphone, don't attempt to read Ben's fight emails over the smartphone because your thumb is just, I mean, it feels like you've read this thing for 3 hours. It's just scrolling and scrolling.
At some point,
and
you
scrolling.
just succumb. Yeah, whatever. You just, I don't even
After
feel
the
like reading
first
the whole
paragraph,
thing.
I'm like, I feel like you're right. Yeah, get him.
I'm like, I feel like you're wrong, but
I just don't have time to read the whole thing.
I love it. I love a fierce email exchange. Here we go. Dear Live from the Path, my sister is 63, divorced, educated, intelligent, self-employed, and receives monthly support from her ex-husband. The problem is she takes no I wonder how many of those things are necessary for
Right.
this explanation.
There's a long list of adjectives.
She also has a unibrow.
she likes blue socks.
She's pretty.
The problem is, okay, yeah, it has nothing to do with it. The problem is she takes no responsibility for her health. That's the problem. She's extremely overweight because she overeats and doesn't exercise. She complains every day that she feels terrible. I call it self-pitying whining. Our other siblings think it is too late to confront her about it.
She's too far gone, man. Too far gone.
You have literally just explained that you have given up on a family member.
But she's self-employed and educated. Let her go.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry,
she gets monthly help from her ex-husband.
What else does she need?
Hold on, let me finish her off. Here we go. Our other siblings think it is too late to confront her about it. I want to address the issue now, before she gains even more, or has a stroke or heart attack, and quite frankly, won't be able to care for herself. I don't want to see the responsibility fall on 3 kids or us siblings. It's not fair.
There it is.
She's just too lazy to
I
make
feel the
necessary
love.
changes.
I feel it
And
permeating.
constantly whines. Your thoughts? Siblings standing by.
You are a terrible sibling for 2 reasons. Reason number 1 is you feel like your sibling is too far gone for you to tell him, hey, stop eating that donut.
Cut the line, champ. They got the hook. Give it up.
Reason number 2 is your reasoning for complaining about this is because you don't have to take care of the sibling who keeps eating. And then
Thanks
you
for
give
waiting
us
till I was 60 to
right.
tell me.
You give us this long list of things about your wonderful, educated, very intelligent, self-employed, and receives monthly help from her ex-husband's sibling, and then goes into, well, I'm not really caring enough about them. We think they might have gone too far now. And I really don't want to take care of them. You're a terrible sibling.
Here's what it looks like. She's too far away to help because I'm not interested in helping.
She's out of reach because I don't want to take the step.
Am I being selfish? Or have her ways created a necessary wall between us?
At any point in time, if you are uncomfortable with telling your sibling you are huge and overweight, I'm sorry, take care of yourself. Like, it's ridiculous if you honestly feel like you can't have that conversation with somebody. That is absolutely ridiculous. You don't care about this person enough to tell them, hey, seriously? Really? Is that really?
Really?
Is that a good decision?
There appears to be 2 of you this time around. I
She
just
didn't-
saw you at Christmas.
I promise you, this lazy sibling didn't just wake up this morning and go, oh no, what happened? When she looked in the mirror, she knows fully what's happened to her.
Yeah, well, here's the deal: is like problems like this have a lot to do. They have echoes in the gospel, right? Like it's not the result of what's happened; it's the condition that it's allowed this to happen. Like what's going on in your life that this is what you've turned to, And it's not. I mean, some of it's legitimate health problems, and some people have slow metabolism, or some of that is physical, imbalance, and that's a different thing. But like some of it is like
That's very rare. Don't couch that.
I was going to say,
that's pretty rare.
Slow
I like the food.
metabolism could be accounted for
Yeah.
a little obesity.
Well,
I really
if you
like
are-
to eat.
If you are morbidly obese, you frequent the McDonald's.
The
you
more I
know
work
where
out,
all
the
the
more I
Wendy's
eat.
in your areas are. You can drive in your head to the nearest Chinese buffet from everywhere you are. I'm saying.
You can imagine them going, "Hey, what's up, Johnny?" And then your heart feels warm from your couch.
I'm doing okay. My ex-husband's giving me money.
Exactly. I'm not paying for this. It's okay.
Golden Corral, here we go.
My siblings think I'm an intelligent.
Yeah. So I mean, the basic advice is, look, it'd almost be better if you just stay out of it. I feel like you're uncaring and you don't belong in the middle of this thing.
But
at
wait,
all.
she's the only advocate for talking to her sister. It's the rest of her
She's
family
not an
that's out.
advocate. She doesn't care.
I disagree. Even if she has terrible motives for doing it, or he or she has terrible motives for doing it, she needs to talk to her sister, or his or her sister, excuse me. This person needs to talk to their sibling about the fact that they honestly are telling them that they are getting overweight. I don't care if...
I don't trust her.
No. She's going to say, look, you've become a real burden on my heart, and I'm
She's gonna
tired
come
of
with
carrying
the
it.
wrong attitude.
Fine, then they need to get together as siblings and figure it out.
They're asking for advice. You can't just say,
This person-
figure it out.
Change your ways.
The problem is if their family isn't going to tell them, then who is?
Maybe we should do it. Just give us your number.
Just give us your number. I will go have an
call him.
intervention with this person. Guys, I hate to say it. I've been there.
What?
I know, it's crazy. I woke up this morning 250 pounds overweight. It scared me.
These gym shorts are very comfortable.
Why am I so comfy all of a sudden?
Okay.
I can sleep in
This
myself.
is a quick sidebar, but I ran into a fella a couple days ago in Missouri. We were towing a car off the side of the road, and this young man comes up in a pair of elastic basketball shorts with a carabiner key clip attached to it. And I thought, here's the deal. When you're invited to a manly kind of operation like towing a vehicle off the side of the road in the middle of the night, a pair of shorts sandals, and a carabiner keychain attached to your elastic shorts, not a good way to show
No,
up.
no,
Not a good
no.
way to show
Not a
the
good
truth.
way. I mean,
I'm not trusting you with my view.
you might want to borrow a pair of boots or something. I
Yeah,
mean,
I
come
got
to the party.
I got a number of clothing items and/or tools that I don't know how to use, but that I keep on me and put in the car in case someone says, "Hey, man, we're doing something." I'm like, "Well, I brought my stuff."
Yeah, I got my stuff on me.
Yeah.
But sandals, shorts, you're not ready for action. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Mandels, want to come and help us?
Mandels, I love it. I'm going to use that from now on. Thanks, Booba.
You're welcome. Yeah, no, this is ridiculous. This person knows wholeheartedly what they're doing. I would say that there are situations where people do get, to a point where morbid obesity, and I can speak to this. No one is surprised at the fact that I know I'm an overweight guy and I'm working on it. But the fact of the matter is, I'd say 98% of the case, it's not something where they're confused about it. They're not confused about how big they are. They're not confused about what they're doing. They know wholeheartedly what they're eating, and the problem isn't just knowledge. It's not like, oh, I didn't realize that if I ate a box of Twinkies, it wasn't going to go great for me. They need to be confronted at the fact that, hey, something is going on, and who better to do that than the family members that come to them in honest caring. They need to figure out,
I
hey,
feel like they don't have any family members that honestly care about
and
them.
Honest caring was key there.
Yeah, that's the problem.
The problem with my advice is it does not apply.
So to be 100% honest, we can't tell this person to do something because if they do approach this person that's obese and isn't taking care of themselves, they're gonna mess it up further.
You can give them advice. You just have to do it in the right order. Okay. So the first advice to the family would be wake up.
Yeah,
wake
that's
up.
true.
You are being uncaring and you're being like a group of boobs. First, if you either you love your sister or you don't. If you love your sister, then change your attitude.
Yeah.
Basically, look at it as if your sister is dying, and
She
you're
is.
unwilling to do something about it. That's what's going on. Your sister is dying, and you refuse to say something. See it correctly. Do you care enough to tell her that she's dying?
Yeah, that's true.
And then, so my first advice would be to them to see it correctly. And if you can get them to see it correctly, then you can give them the advice. Okay, now that you care enough to tell her that she's dying, go tell her that
she's
she
dying.
is dying.
Yes.
Now move on. So it has to be in that order to be effective.
That's true.
They can't, in their current state of mind, they're not going to be any effective going and telling her. But yeah, you can give them the advice. You just have to follow it in the right order.
I'm just imagining the person going up to them and be like, hey, I don't want to take care of you. Take care of yourself. And then walking away.
That's true. Her basic complaint is not that her sister is dying, is that she has to walk over the body to get to the kitchen.
Right.
That's what she's irritated with. I don't
is
want this
so
to be my
inconvenient.
problem.
You're very intelligent and self-employed, but come on.
I'm very proud of you. Now get out of my way.
I'm very proud of you.
Yeah.
Now lose weight.
You're a self-made woman who works on her own off the money of your ex-husband. What kind of? Are you
Is
really?
that the employment?
Are you
like
really
when she says
self-employed?
self-employed, was the divorce the employment?
I don't understand the compliments at the beginning.
Yeah.
Relative to
It's
she's
so that we think
obese.
that this person is an okay person character-wise.
She's very smart.
She's wonderful. She's smart. She's funny.
she's very
just
pretty.
very obese, and I don't care about her. It's like, thank you for emailing in.
Can you
Dear
tell me
Live
what to
from
do?
the Path.
All right,
I
here we go.
can't seem to care about this person. What should I do?
Here's the secular advice.
Oh, buddy.
The problem with confronting someone is that it usually makes the person being confrontive defensive. That's true and appropriate, by the way.
Agreed.
If someone confronts you and your reaction is like, oh, well, no biggie, then you didn't confront correctly. They didn't get the gist of what you were after.
This person should be convicted.
Feel like you should stop smoking. Well, then,
Okay.
Yeah.
somebody got a study.
I hear what you're saying, but
I appreciate that you care enough to tell me.
I'm going to do what I want
I mean,
to.
defensive is on them, Frank. I mean,
Yeah, that's
we
true.
label confrontation the way you label truth. Anyway, in a case like this, I don't recommend it. However, a family intervention might work. Good. A group of folks. If the family members were to get together and, as a group, talk to your sister about your concern for her health, it might be the wake-up call she needs. No mention of whining should be made, but suggest that she might have a touch of depression that could be helped if she brings it to the attention of her doctor. Tell her you all love her, that you're worried about her, and are willing to help her schedule an appointment with her physician if she's willing. I think that would be a loving thing to do.
I'm just envisioning them all sitting on couches around and having written letters. Diane, we love you very much, and we don't want to take care of you. Please take care of yourself.
In fact, I found
Live from the Path said to say I love you. No mention of whining. Okay.
Love, Dan S. Esquire. Dated 8/12/13.
I so don't want to be a part of your issue. I even found a paid medical professional to pawn you off on.
You're
Please.
self-employed. You should know better.
Please tell him your woes. Consider talking to your ex-husband. He's obviously aware of your problems.
Ben, we got time for one more.
Okay, here we go. Dear Live from the Path. When my wife and I go to a busy restaurant or a concert where we can pick up last-minute tickets, I often ask her to hop out of the car to find out if the wait times are reasonable or tickets are available while I wait in the car. I do this so I won't have to find a parking space until we're sure we will be staying. My wife says my doing this is tacky. I believe it is efficient. What are your thoughts? Recognizing that I usually come up with the short straw on matters of manners. Thanks.
I think it's great. I do the same thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Keep it up. Well done.
This is probably just one bit of why your wife thinks you're tacky, by the way. I think there's a good chance that this is just a small portion and that there's something else that you do that's super tacky, and she's just commenting on this one thing.
I disagree. I think he's probably rocks in every way.
The dude is efficient.
And this
he
just
knows
shows
what he's doing.
he doesn't want her to wait
He
an
probably
unreasonable
sends his
amount
wife
of time.
out of the car and then hoots at her.
Hey, she's with me.
You see that lady? She hopped out of this car.
Yeah, it's an Astro van. What up?
Hey, we don't want to wait for tickets. Come on.
There's something that makes her uncomfortable here, but it's not appropriate. He's not tacky at all. This is wise counsel. What's he gonna do? Park 10 miles away, walk up there?
Yeah,
And then they have to walk all the way back together when he can't get tickets.
You wait here in the parking lot, babe. I'll be back.
Yeah.
I hope you don't get robbed.
Or you could pull up front and go Chinese fire drill, and then she's got to move in the driver's seat, and then you got to haul up there. I feel like it's. I mean, the passenger's job is, since you're not driving, is to take care of auxiliary matters, which are, hey, walk up to the counter and see what's happening.
Go check on the wait time. That's an auxiliary matter for driving.
I feel
Absolutely.
like- yeah.
You're behind the wheel. Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with you
someone's
guys.
gotta man
I'm
the
just
car.
saying, I think if she's calling him tacky, I think that there's something else behind this.
No, in fact, I love this guy. Look at how he asked it. He said, what are your thoughts? Recognizing that I usually come up with the short straw on matters of manners. He's saying, I can be boorish. Maybe I'm wrong here. I love this man.
I feel like he's being honest.
Yeah.
In fact, I might have written this letter.
Love
All right.
Mike.
From Barbaric and Burbank.
From Hungry Diane. Dear, here we go. Dear Secular's Advice, your request makes perfect sense to me. Parking spaces are sometimes hard to find. I went to Chicago over the last 2 days.
Parking space story.
Listen here. It's $55 to park overnight in Chicago.
It's insane.
What? It's outlandish.
That's why I go to the suburbs and train in.
Holy cats alive. See, here's the deal. So I went. It was like a company deal, and they pay for stuff. And like the valet at the hotel was like $55 to park overnight. I'm like, no way, man. I won't be the guy that gets suckered into this stuff. So I go driving around, and there's a self park for $40 a night, and it's like a few blocks away. And if you leave once, you don't get back in. I'm not. $55 is probably the better deal, but boy, oh boy. Anyway,
I would pay a random dude $30 to drive my car overnight. Just have it back in the morning. And
I
I'd be
also
done with
saw it was in Chicago. I also saw a guy washing himself with his own plaid shirt. It was a homeless guy who had taken off his shirt and like no water or anything. He just kind of took his shirt off and was like scrubbing his back like it was a towel. And I thought, use what you can
it.
use.
He's got one of those moist towelettes that he's just rubbing.
Yeah.
You've been listening to Live from the Path on livefromthepath.org. If you're listening on 99.3 KTIA, we got to let you split. It's time for you to go home and do unfun stuff besides listen to this show. So, but if you want to dig on the rest of the podcast, hop on www.livefromthepath.org. Get on the podcast and we'll finish up. We got a little bit of the show left to go. So have a good week. We love you. All right, Ben, hit us with it.
Okay, here we go. Dear Live from the Path, my husband lost his job more than a year ago because his plant closed. He was almost retirement age, so he took an early retirement. The problem is he isn't adjusting well to the change. He has his hobbies, but he seems to have lost interest in them. He's angry a lot of the time and lost at other times. I understand it's a huge adjustment for him, but I'm concerned that it's been going on too long. I've tried to get him interested in things, but he doesn't take my suggestions well anymore. He thinks I want him out of my hair, but it's not true. I want him to be happy. I know he's depressed, but he denies it. When other people ask how he likes retirement, he says he loves it. I think he feels silly for not enjoying it. He doesn't want to spend money for counseling, even though he knows he can get the fee adjusted according to our income. I'm at a loss about what to do to help him. He reads your column regularly, and I think he would take seriously any advice you could offer. Concerned wife in Michigan.
You know, sometimes I think that people have a idealistic version of retirement. Some people's retirement is working. Some people's retirement is just taking what they normally do in a day and are being paid for, and then they just do it on their own terms but still work that much. There's some people that work 60 hours a week, and they will do that their whole life. They're just wired that way.
Yeah.
You give them a day off, and they'll find somewhere else to work. They're irritated that you won't let them come in and make money, or come in and move or build something or move something. And I mean, obviously, he didn't have expectations this is going to be what his life was. Now, frankly, he's being kind of a child in this thing and not taking it by the horns, because there's more than enough things for him to do. You know what I'm saying? There's things that he could be keeping busy with, and he's too busy. He's got himself in the 10-foot deep end of the self-pity pool, and he refuses to get himself out. And I mean, if he's not man enough to say, look, I need someone to come get me because I can't do this on my own, then you're going to have a hard time dragging him out. But I mean, that's basically the deal. If he's just wired that way and he needs something to do, he needs to get rid of the idealistic perspective of what retirement looks like for everybody else and do what it does for him. A whole lifetime's worth of working should produce joy for you when you don't have to do it anymore. Like, I mean, I'd hope when I retire that I'm not married to the couch and the Ellen Show. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get so mad that at my current work schedule that I even have to go because I have 50 other things that I would rather be working at. There's a million other things that I don't want to go home and sit on my butt. I want to go out and do something, but I can't because I have to go to stupid work and I hate it. But like, I assume my retirement is going to look like that. Hopefully when I retire, I have a little bit more money than I have now and a lot more time than I have now to go out and work and serve other people. And so I feel like he is. I mean, she's right. He sounds depressed. I don't know if that's true or not, but if he's trying to adopt the hitting the golf club lifestyle and it's not for him, then that's lame. He should just give up on it.
Yeah, I'm for it. I think that's a pretty good. I think it's a pretty good analysis of it. I mean,
now hold on, listen here. Am I the only side commentary man in the business? I sit in this big boy chair, and you guys just stand around looking at me like I'm supposed to provide my own side commentary.
You're just that good.
We want you to rebuttal against yourself. We know how much you like to argue.
Fine, leave that man alone. He's having a rough time, and you show up with your advice from your fancy radio chair because you have a job. What a pious statement.
He could work if he wanted to work. I mean, what you're saying is true. He could work if he wanted to work. If your plant closes, I mean, here's the thing: is like I've had this. I always use Mike as my best example. When people are upset, they lose a job or something goes on. Like him and I were working in the same place, and his shift started before mine, and I came in and he was just gone. He didn't work there anymore, and I got a call like 2 hours later, and I'm like, Mike, what's going on, man? You don't work here anymore. He's like, no, I have a job at the oil change. I'm a manager at a Jiffy Lube or wherever it was. He was an oil change place, right? He quit a job, left a job, and 2 hours later was working somewhere else, right? Some people get mad. They go home. They stew about all the reasons that they left or they had to leave or whatever, right? Mike Foose calls me 2 hours after he left and goes, I'll be home late. I'm at work tonight. You know what I'm saying? And so like, and I told my wife once is like, if I were to ever lose my job or quit my job or something, like you would hear about it after I got home from my next job. Like I would get a job at McDonald's. They hire you. You can just walk in there and apply at the McDonald's and say, look, I want to work. They'll let you work that same day. They'll give you a shirt. And like, I will have a job that same day. And then I'll worry about finding another job within the next few weeks. Right. But like you have control over that transition. He wasn't forced into retirement. He took the plant closed. He didn't control that, but he gets to control how he reacts to it. He can get another job. He can use the time to go serve other people. He can enjoy the fact that he's not working. He can choose to do any one of those things. But he's doing like the most irrational thing, which is to lament the not working and not doing anything about it by continuing to not work. And like what I don't understand, and this is a lot of people will live this way, not specifically on work, but just in general, is they'll hold two different things in their mind as if they're compatible, and then not do anything to resolve the problem. Right? If you want to work. If you don't want to work, why are you not enjoying not working? Like, there's not a lot of middle ground there. Like, you just, if he's upset that his plant closed, I get it, but you're 60 some years old. Like, move on. It's just the way life is. You know who whines when they don't get their way? My daughter. I have a 7-year-old that like still cries every once in a while when she doesn't get her way. Like, that's pathetic, but she's 7. He's 62. Start living your life. Take control of what the things that you have control over. Take control of them. Go find something to do with yourself. Yeah, I slammed Mike's phone down because it's close to me. Take that stuff.
I agree with both of you.
We know a similarly aged woman who would probably like to go out to eat with him.
She's well-to-do.
Her ex-husband supports her well.
She's a food connoisseur.
Yeah, she's educated. She's
Very smart.
cultured.
That's right.
Yeah, she's self-employed.
She knows where to get the best nachos.
Yeah, exactly.
And her family's pretty hands-off, so you don't have to worry about people interfering.
You're not going to be judged. They don't care.
You've been
They'll
listening.
never meet you.
Just keep her out of their way. You'll be fine.
You've been listening to Live from the Path on livefromthepath.org. We got one more that we're gonna shuffle through on what I like to call the week's worth of advice. Be on tap for the podcast. There's a bunch of cool stuff up on the YouTube of the musical performance that we've had in here lately. Tessa Johnson was just in here last week, and she did a fantastic job. And so I'm actually kind of excited. I'd really like to go see that show at the Gas Lamp. I think it was the 29th, maybe.
I don't remember.
Check our site. We like Tessa Johnson on the Facebook page. So go ahead and find her through there and go check it out. That show at the Gas Lamp sounded like it's pretty cool.
Here, do you want to hear the secular advice?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Secular advice is retirement is not for everyone, and not everybody loves it. That's why it's so important that before a person retires, he or she have a plan in place for staying mentally and physically active. Boy, that's kind of a salt in the wound.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy, I know your plant closed. Why weren't you prepared?
Yep.
That's rough. Your husband may have valuable skills he could pass on by mentoring others. He could volunteer in the community, delivering meals to shut-ins, coaching youngsters sports, help out at the police department or a hospital. Can you just walk to the police department and offer to help? That sounds like fun.
I don't think
Possibly.
so.
I've never
I
heard
was
such a
gonna
thing.
say, I should try this. Just be like, I feel like I could be of service to you. Can I help you in any way?
Although they do have like a deputy. What do they call those? They do have like a part-time.
Yeah, that
deputy
sounds like
deal.
the most
Yes.
annoying guy ever.
Yeah.
A civilian consultant. It's just
Yeah.
like, yes.
No,
They-
they'll go out and do
I-
traffic like at ball games and stuff.
They give 'em a
They
fly
wear
swatter gun.
uniform.
Exactly.
They could
It
real
just
life
has the
that.
flag that comes out and says bang. Saying, hey.
I'm going to get you, sucker. Go ahead, man.
Help out at the police department or hospital. All he needs to do is go to his computer and type in volunteer opportunities in Michigan to find plenty of opportunities.
That's a pompous response.
He can donate as little or as much time as he wants. He knows that. This is not a man that's never heard of volunteerism. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't.
What? I can help others with my time? No.
I don't think.
Wait a minute. I can take up a hobby?
I never thought of this stuff. But first, he'll have to admit that he isn't loving retirement and needs an outlet. Please make sure he sees this column.
By the way, my advice is so great. Make sure it gets to him.
Make sure he sees this.
Yeah, this is the typical. The wife doesn't want him around. He's fine. She's just a little trying to get rid of
She
him.
said that isn't the case, but you think she's not telling the
She's
truth
not
about
telling
that?
the truth.
She doesn't. Yeah,
I
she doesn't
see
know
it
how
all
to
the
do it.
time.
Actually, so like I'm going. My wife and I were talking recently that like with a this happens in military families too, where people are away for long periods of time. Is sometimes like them being gone is one thing, but it's very difficult to adjust to them being back.
Yeah.
like it's a change in life for
You're
that
like in their
person to come
territory
back.
now.
Yeah, I mean they're hanging around your place all the time.
We're doing just fine.
You're still here?
Like you've gotten used to them being gone, and it's a significant change when they come back.
Yeah.
And I'm sure retirement is a lot like that, which means that she's already retired. Either she's old or she's living off her ex-husband.
She may be educated.
Yeah.
Did it mention her weight?
Here we go. Ooh, it's a heavy one. Dear Life from the Path, I'm 12. And for the last 5 months, my family hasn't been getting along. We act like we love each other, but I'm not so sure. My mom and dad have been fighting. I saw something Mom left on her computer she had been looking at, and the title was How to Let Go of Emotions During the Divorce Process. I don't know if my parents are getting a divorce or not, but it's slowly tearing my family apart, and I don't know what to do. What can I do to prevent it?
Oh.
Oh, man.
Of course, this is sad, right? Because neither one of the parents have done their job and talked to their kids.
Yeah.
This should not be a hey, by the way, we're getting divorced, and then like the next day, dad moves out, right? I feel like if this is the way this is going to go down, at the very least, the mom and the dad can sit the kids down together and have a conversation as a family. Because frankly, you're not right in what you're doing. And it's going to be a prideful conversation for you to explain on how neither one of you want to repent and live unselfishly for the other person in that room. But if you can muster past your own, pride and skip over the humbleness, you can at least explain to your kids that this is not the way that God designed things, and you're just you're balking at it. Is what you're doing. It's almost very sad that not one of those parents has had that conversation. You know what I'm saying?
I think. Wait, so what's your advice? Like, what do you want the parents to do? What's your advice to the daughter?
I feel like you have to find someone else to talk to. You're not gonna stop it.
Well, no. Okay, so I think that's true. Like, obviously, like it's not about you, right? Like that decision is always about. It's always about the marriage. It's not about the kids. Would you recommend? I think I would. Would you recommend them going to talk to her parents? Hey, I saw the article, Mom.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Just simply, I was like, here's the deal. I don't want to know any details. I don't need to know who's mad at who. Blah blah blah. It's just for real. What's going on? You guys are going on a path. I just want to know.
She's 12. I mean, she's 12. I think she can handle that conversation.
12 years old, completely able to understand the concept that there's a rift between them. Yeah. Completely able to understand, finding on the computer, knows what divorce is, knows all, the concept of what it is. I think she should be able to walk up to her parents and say, hey, I know. I've seen what's happened. I found this. Let's talk.
And while they're making all these decisions for her best interest, I think for her best interest, she could say, here's the deal. For my best interest, you need to work this out.
Right.
Yeah, figure it out.
You need to find a counselor.
Yeah, for my best interest, I need mom and dad.
Yep. Then if you can't work it out, that's a different thing. But you've got to try first.
It sucks that it has to be on this person or on this little girl to bring it up. Like 12 years old is 7th grade.
Yeah.
Adults that are in the middle of this start acting very childish, and it gets crazy.
And that's I never thought about that. Like from what Mike was saying is like if you like the responsible thing is to sit down and talk about it as a family.
Yep.
But like you're right. There's nothing in that conversation that's not going to point to being very selfish, right? Because you're giving reasons or justifications for making a decision that is wrong. That and there are always going to be bad reasons. And like I can't imagine that you can't, as much as say we don't want the kids to be hurt or whatever. I don't know how they could not walk away, especially at that age and what they can comprehend, being like way disappointed in your parents and like. It's a smack of reality that you don't necessarily have to see. I mean, like to a certain extent, I think I was fortunate. My parents have been divorced forever. Like they've always been divorced as long as I've known anything. So like I didn't have to be part of the process of watching people, that relationship disintegrate.
Yeah.
So I mean that's
it's a bonus.
It's a fortunate in that way.
Yeah.
But like. But I mean, that's a reality smack. To like even if as a grown up, I can look back and maybe I can see their relationship differently or relationships that either of them have been in since then differently, And there's just something way more real about recognizing what those times must have been about, what choices had to be made, what people were thinking and what people were doing, and that's just a really rough spot to put a kid that age in, and it's way difficult to have. I think there's just a bit of cowardice in there to not have that conversation because that when you're in the moment making those types of, when you're talking to your buddies about it or whatever, you can say whatever you want, and the people that are like empowering you for like, no, you don't be stepped on, you won't be treated that way by that person, but you got to look your 12-year-old in the eye and admit that you're making a pretty selfish decision here. And that's got to be way humbling. And frankly, I think there's cowardice in it in not doing it. You're just choosing not to put yourself in that position. And that's I mean, the whole thing's kind of pathetic.
I guess I never really. I was talking to a guy actually this week about his parents had gotten divorced when he was like 13, and I always felt really blessed that ours happened. That my mom and dad got divorced when I was 6 months old because through elementary school they'd put us through these classes with a talking puppet dolphin. Be like, how do you feel? How are things going at home? Or your parents are fighting, and like all these other kids have real hurt going on, and I'm like, I don't know. Like they got divorced when I was 6 months. I don't know. I've never known any different.
Dad's coming in a week, free cereal all weekend. Do it.
Yeah, I'm not feeling. And and other kids are like tore up, and I'm just like Johnny, no emotion. I'm like, I don't know. Everything seems to be fine. We got baseball coming up, I guess. I don't know. But I was talking to this cat earlier this weekend, and he was saying his parents had got divorced when I was 13, and I thought, I just feel so blessed that it happened so early because I would feel totally betrayed on the sham that you presented as a marriage. You know what I'm saying? Like for the first 12 years of my upbringing, you presented to me as this is the way a family is to operate, and the whole time you were moving stage lights behind the curtain for a different show. You know what I'm saying? You told me I was going to see Cats, and now we're watching, we're watching some other Broadway hit, Miss Saigon, and that's not what I wanted to see. You know what I'm saying? Like you set up the sham, and I just don't. I'd feel totally betrayed. Like you set up. This is what was going to go on, and the whole time it didn't just like one day go. That's it. I decided we had a fight this morning. Now we're getting a divorce. You know what I'm saying? It ramped up. It took a while to get here, or something happened, and a bunch of behind the scenes crap happened, and now you're dumping it on me. And we're not operating as the family that you said we were. We're operating as I'm a second class citizen, and you guys are bailing on an operation that you put me in. I don't know. I'm having a hard time with that now, and can't even experience that. Like I wouldn't have no idea how to handle that at that age and not feel totally disgruntled towards the pair of them. And I'm sure there's going to be talking on either side on eventually why it went down and what happened, but like I just can't. I could never look at my parents right as I did before that happened and not be like, you lied to me. At the very least, you lied to me. You played on like nothing was going down, and obviously it was. I don't know. I feel like you, especially as maybe the 3-year-old, maybe they don't get that conversation. As a 12-year-old, I feel like you owe them that. I feel like they've been through 12 years of life with you guys. I feel like you owe them that.
Secular advice. Tell your mother you saw the article she left on the computer and ask her if she and your dad are separating. If the answer is yes, tell her you hope they're getting counseling. It is important you understand that while they both love you, they have reached a point where their relationship may no longer be working. Much as you might like to, there is nothing you can do to head this off because the problem has only to do with them and not you. And it's, you know what? That's true for the kid to understand, but that's also a lie. Right? Their problem is your family's problems. Those are your kids' problems. And, that's probably something that people who are having those type of issues can say to themselves and to their kids, like, this has nothing to do with you, just between you and your mother, or me and your mother and whatever. But it's like, this has everything to do with them. You're taking their world, their infrastructure, their parental situation, and you are changing that. And don't, if you're going to make that decision, don't try to like shallow what that impact is. This has everything to do with you. I know this is going to hurt you, and you put that in perspective, and then you rethink as to whether the decision you're making is the important one. Whether you have done absolutely everything you can to try to salvage. I mean, whatever. There'll be times when like the person you're married to is a serial adulterer and they don't love you, and they're going to continue to do whatever they want to do right in your face, and it's going to be very, very difficult. I don't think that's the situation we're talking here. Like we just like put it all on the table. Don't lie to yourself or to your kids about what you're actually doing and what the impact is. Face it head on, and then we'll see what type of decision you can make. You're listening to Live from the Path. Hey, we're coming at you every Monday night here from 10 to 11 p.m. on livefromthepath.org. Also Saturdays at 7 o'clock on 99.3 KTIA. Thank you so much for hanging out with us here on the podcast. I'm glad you're here. I hope you're enjoying the beautiful evening and the season of advice here on Live from the Path. Make sure you check out the website during the week. Listen to the tunes some other folks have been. You can play along with the games. Check out past shows. Sign up for that podcast. And tell your friends. I think they'll love it because I love it. And everyone loves what I love. That means also like chocolate milk and my wife. Stay away from my wife. You're listening to Live from the Path. Have a good week.